Okay, so remember the arguments that we're dealing with have two features that we're evaluating. We're looking at their form and their content. In other words, we look at the form of an argument, we determine whether or not it's a valid argument. And then if it is, we look at the content of the premises, because we know that if the premises of a valid argument are true, then the conclusion necessarily follows from that. So what I want you to start thinking about week to week now is how you defend the premises of your valid arguments that you're creating. And what I mean by that is, how do you convince someone that the valid argument you have has all true premises? Okay, so I gave you this statement to think about. Seth Rogen is an actor, and I asked you, is that statement true or false? And I'm assuming you're saying true. And so then I ask you to step forward and, all right, defend your answer. Explain to me why you think that statement is true. And you might say something like, oh, well, I saw this movie with him, Pineapple Express or Super Bad or whatever. I saw him in those movies. And I really encourage you not to offer that kind of a defense of your premise, because I don't know who you are. And the people who are listening to you making your arguments might not know who you are either. So the words, taking your word for it is asking somebody to do quite a bit. So instead, what I'd like you to do is to start thinking about your role with arguments and premise defenses, similar to the role of lawyers in a court of law, and their role with their clients, right? So they come into a courtroom and you have one attorney who's saying, this person committed this crime. And then you have another person saying, no, my claim that's true is this person did not commit this crime. And both those claims can't both be true at the same time. One has to be true, one has to be false. And if those attorneys stepped forward to the jury and just said, look, the reason I think it's true that he did it is, I saw him do it. And just take my word for it, trust me. The jury's going to be like, what? No, sorry, you've got to do a way better job of defending your claim than just saying, trust me, or that you claim to have some experience. So what the smart attorney is going to do is they're going to start bringing in mountains of evidence, right? Like, here's this video footage of him committing the crime. Here's this testimony from witnesses. Here's some sort of circumstantial evidence that we collected at the crime scene that shows he committed this crime. And what you're hoping to do is make it really difficult for the judge or the jury to think that the claim you're making is a false one. You want to make it so that they almost feel like, oh my gosh, well, obviously it's true. He's given us this mountain of evidence. And I would encourage you to think about your claims in the same way. So instead of just taking my word for it that I think it's true that Seth Rogen is an actor, I'm going to bring you some evidence. Like, I'm going to pull up IMDb. And I'm going to show you the blurb where it says, hey, this guy's an actor. And I'm going to explain to you why IMDb is a reputable source on this question. And I might even pull up, or maybe I'll even show some of the movies that he's acted in. But at minimum, I'd show you like the boxes where his name is listed as one of the leading actors. Maybe pull up some other websites. And the point is with just these three things up on the screen here, it's going to be really hard for you to deny this statement is true. The only way you could probably do that at this point is to say either that we're talking about some other Seth Rogen, or the word actor refers to something other than the way I'm using it. And that's why, as philosophers like you are, you have to work really hard to define your terms so that we know exactly what we're talking about when we hear out your claims. So now the important point here is to realize that we would prove this statement true by bringing in outside evidence, okay? But now think about this other claim that I've asked you to think about. Seth Rogen is not a non-actor. Is that statement true or false? Well, this starts to get a little trickier, okay? Here's the only thing that we've determined. We determined that it's true, and that's what this little T means here, that this statement is a true statement. Seth Rogen is an actor. Does that mean it would be true or false that Seth Rogen is not a non-actor? Now, again, we probably go back and think about, what does it mean to be an actor? And I would encourage you to maybe think about this, that just because you're not acting at a given moment doesn't mean you're not an actor. Like right now, you're studenting, right? You're being a student. But at some point, if I allow it, you're not going to be watching this, and you're not going to be thinking about logic anymore. You're going to be off walking on the beach. Are you still a student when you're walking on the beach? I'm my parents' son, but my mom lives 700 or 800 miles away, and my dad's dead. Did I stop being their son because I'm here, not sunning, not playing the role of son? No. So there are certain features of our identity that we kind of carry with us through time. And I would argue to you that being an actor is one of those. That as long as Seth Rogen is continuing to perform in that function currently, that he is an actor. And he's an actor when he's driving his car to the grocery store, and he's an actor when he's sleeping at night. And he's an actor when he's acting in front of a camera or on stage. So, given that, what's a non-actor? That non is a funny term. We're going to use it a lot this semester. Non makes whatever it's in front of. Non, when it's combined with a term, like non-actor, tells us that it refers to everything except what follows the non. So if I gave you an orange and you said, give me the opposite of that, I wouldn't hand you an apple. I would instead hand you a non-orange. Well, what's a non-orange? A non-orange is everything that exists in the universe except oranges, right? So you have oranges and then you have non-oranges. And oranges can't be non-oranges because by definition, a non-orange is not an orange. It's everything but an orange. And it's the same thing with actor and non-actor, okay? If you're an actor, you can't be a non-actor. If you're a son, you can't be a non-son. If you're a mother, you can't be a non-mother. You can only be one or the other, okay? So if we've determined that it's true that Seth Rogen is an actor, it would have to be true that Seth Rogen is not a non-actor because he's an actor. And if you think about the way we just proved this statement true, it wasn't by bringing in evidence like we did there. We didn't bring in anything from the outside. Instead, we used the sheer force of logic to say, well, if I know that that's true, I've already determined that's true, I can use the power of reasoning to determine that this statement would also have to be true. All right?